from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
Nothing like snow for the first week of April, right? Well, like it or not, flakes have been flying throughout much of the valley for most of the day, and we should expect more in the next days to come. As we begin the first full month of spring, it's still a little early to be thinking about tucking those snow blowers away for the next winter, as we've got more snow and chilly temps in our forecast. So let's find out from Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson for what we can expect for tonight. Hutch?
Well, tonight we have some fresh snow to report along the South Dakota border, in particular Hecla, South Dakota picking up 3 inches, with Frederick at 2 inches and Sisseton only reporting 0.8 inches, but heavier bands moving through that area once again late this evening. Lidgerwood 3 inches, and the big winner so far, Ellendale with 5 inches. The heaviest bands are in northeast South Dakota, directly east into the northern part of the metro Twin Cities area. More snow is on its way from the west. We do have winter weather advisories for our area until 7 a.m. for our North Dakota counties and until 1 p.m. for our South Dakota counties for tomorrow. An additional amount of snow tonight north of the South Dakota border of around 1 inch in the far south. 2 to 5 inches for some, 4 to 8 inches as we go through the day on Tuesday with yet another round. So our winter remains relentless. I'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast when we get a break from the snowfall.
All right, thank you, Hutch.
You bet.
Also, make sure you have the Valley News Live Storm Team weather app so you can keep up with the weather anytime, anywhere. You'll get the latest forecasts and conditions so you can plan your day. Just search VNL Weather in the App Store and download it for free. We're learning new information tonight on the crash that closed part of I-94 in Fargo this afternoon. A 25-year-old woman from Moorhead is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries after being ejected from her car. She was entering the eastbound lanes of I-94 when she lost control, crossed the median, and went onto the westbound side, where she was hit by a vehicle driven by 41-year-old Lika Maruki. Maruki was brought to the hospital with serious injuries. Now, the name of the female driver is being withheld until her family has been notified. Speed and icy road conditions are a factor in this crash. Crews had to close the interstate and divert traffic away from the area. The North Dakota Highway Patrol continues to investigate. While the weather outside may have you forgetting that we are in fact into the spring season now. Valley News Team's Rose Itzkovitz joins us live to tell us why this long winter may be to blame for more cases of the flu this year. Rose?
Well, Christine, as you can see, it's still snowing out here. It's been snowing since earlier today. But, you know, I talked to some health professionals today about the uptick in flu cases this year. And from what I heard, you know, I might be a little bit better off standing out here in the cold than you are nice and warm in the studio. Take a look.
Fargo mom Rachel Kanowski says despite all this winter white, she still thinks the recent weather is warmer.
If it's warm enough to snow, I don't mind it because I know spring and summer will come.
Maybe eventually, but in the meantime, the snow, even if it is a warmer snow, is still keeping more folks indoors.
You know, that common misconception that we're going to catch a cold because we go outside in the cold, it's only partially true, right?
The flu season seems to be very high this year. We are seeing more. The peak usually is in November to March.
And though April just started, it's not looking like it's slowing down anytime soon.
It's sticking around way longer than anyone thought it was going to. And people, you know, were constantly getting almost reinfected, it seemed like.
A lot of that does have to do with us being cooped up inside, and it's been colder conditions. So people are staying in close contact with each other.
Which is why Sanford Nurse Nelson says the best advice may be what you already know, to wash your hands often and cover your mouth. And since there may be no escaping a sick environment,
we know that we're getting bombarded, right? You can't avoid your kid.
Here are some ways you can keep the flu at bay.
Depending on your age and chronic disease conditions, among other things, it is advised to talk to your healthcare provider if you have been exposed to the influenza to see if there is a preventative medicine called Tamiflu that you can take that would help.
Nurse Nelson also advises to take a multivitamin, and naturopathic Dr. Loken says it's best to avoid sugar intake.
Because those are the things that those bugs really like to feed on.
And choose nourishing foods.
Things like bone broth and things like soups.
She says vitamin D can help boost your immune system.
And in one study, it actually showed that it did better than the flu shot.
And supplements like echinacea and elderberry can also help.
And make sure you're getting a quality supplement that's been tested and that's been vetted for how effective it is.
And Fargo mom Rachel Kanowski, who's also a teacher, says she's been around a lot of sick kids this year, but she's been lucky. Her secret?
Whenever we have a decent day, my husband and I definitely open the windows to get that fresh air in, and our kids play outside a lot.
As you may have heard Hutch already talking about, this weather is supposed to stay below normal for at least the next 7 days. So we might get a little bit more indoor time than we want to in the near future. Live South Fargo, Rose Iskevitz, Valley News Live. Christine?
All right. Thank you, Rose. And we're also told it's not just about spending time in a room with someone who's sick, but it's about how much time you spend in that room, which is why it's so important to take care of yourself when you're helping to care for others. Last night, Valley News Live first brought you a story about a man walking from Moorhead to Minnesota's state capitol. Tim Berry is walking to raise awareness on an issue that is very close to his heart. That's mental health and seeking proper treatment for those who are suffering. Berry says he's on a mission to save his daughter's life. She got addicted to drugs at a young age and also suffers from bipolar disorder. Now his daughter is in jail, and this isn't the first time she's been behind bars. But Berry thinks she should be getting help instead of being locked up.
A lady down at the Department of Human Services in Minnesota told me that my daughter was the poster child for a broken system.
And that's why he's walking. He plans to walk every day until he gets to the Minnesota Capitol. And when he gets there, he wants to make his message heard on the steps. A Wisconsin man is recovering from injuries after his car was hit by a semi along I-94 in Wilkin County, Minnesota. It happened over the weekend just west of Rothsay. State troopers say both vehicles were headed in the same direction when the driver of an SUV lost control on ice, hit a cable barrier, and then was hit by a semi. The SUV caught fire and is now a total loss. There's no word yet on the condition of the driver of the SUV. Minnesotans across the state can now access suicide prevention and mental health crisis texting services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As of the first of the month, Minnesotans who feel they are in a crisis can now text to 741741 to connect with a trained counselor who will help to diffuse the situation and connect you to local resources. Minnesota has had text suicide prevention services since 2011, but they had only been available in 54 of 87 counties plus tribal nations. New tariffs or taxes imposed on the U.S. by China will go into effect today. It includes a 25% tariff on certain varieties of pork, including chopped and liver. Before China updated its tariff on pork, there was already a 12% tariff in place. However, this new tariff would raise it to 37%. This jump has the state's pork council concerned about how these changes will affect North Dakota producers.
China raises a great deal of pork, but they don't raise enough for their demand, so they definitely are going to import pork. And where's it going to come from? Most likely it'll still come from the U.S. At what price was unsure of. Will Chinese consumers be willing to pay the higher price because of the quality of the product? Just a lot of that remains to be unseen. And
China is the #3 American export market for pork. A new product out of Minnesota could help clean up efforts during hazardous spills. We'll tell you what it is and what it does later on Valley News Live at 6. But first, find out how much one North Dakota city is willing to spend to move this house just across the street.